Alright, we're back with episode 3 of Rick and Morty season 7, Air Force Wong. I'll be giving my brief thoughts on it today, but I would love to see what you all thought of this one down below, so be sure to comment all your thoughts and theories before you leave today. But with that said, let's dive on in. I think if anything, this episode is a sort of pause on the show. It's asking us to take a step back, or turn around I should say, and take a retrospective look at how far Rick as a character has come. I've stated in my past reviews how Rick has felt a bit off so far this season, and I think this episode, while certainly not my favorite, was needed, or at the least well deserved, to comment on how Rick has grown. To shed some light on why he might seem a bit different this year. There isn't much actual growth within this episode, but it's more of a reflection on how Rick has developed from the pilot up till now. But of course, every time Rick does grow, his character is immediately tested, and this week that's by President Curtis, Unity, and of course the ever-challenging Dr. Wong.
Before we move off this topic, can I ask if you're currently a hologram?
Yeah, hold on. One sec.
It's no secret that President Andre Curtis and Rick Sanchez are the best of friends.
Oh, God. Mr. President, Morty and I have the situation covered.
I'm sure you did. Dismissed.
Dismissed?
Yeah, dismissed. Not needed here. You can leave and nobody will care.
No, but seriously, there's no one who really understands Rick as well as President Curtis, at least from this dimension, and just as well, Rick is the only one who can truly relate to the president.
They have the closest thing that either of those guys could call a friendship. If anyone were to ever admit, like, oh, we're supposed to just be friends, then it would all fall apart. I think they can relate to each other because no one else can relate to them.
These are beings of immense power, either scientifically created or politically elected. And as Rick grows with himself and within his mental state, which we know he's got a super weak mental after that Jerry Rick cold open last week, Dr. Wong has become a confidant for him. So naturally, this episode explores what might happen if you were to throw the proverbial wrench Dr. Wong into the works Rick's and Curtis's relationship. And suffice it to say, they're not good things.
And hungry.
You can't date my shrink.
What? Bro, you're nuts.
And don't date my shrink.
Call on the chopper. I'm being cock-blocked.
And on top of all that, we have Unity returning from Season 2 to help Rick with his mental and emotional states, given that he is in pursuit of Rick Prime. And I'll be honest, I had a tough time tracking how this episode makes sense, both logistically and morally. Like, correct me if I'm wrong in the comments, cause perhaps I'm just misremembering or not connecting the dots, but Unity left Rick and then ghosted him. And now she comes back and is furious with Rick for ghosting her back?
What? Are you joking?
And Dr. Wong...
Call me Helen.
Sorry, Helen takes Unity's side. I don't get it. She somewhat defends Rick, but also throws him under the bus without the full context.
I need Unity's help, so you need to convince her I'm worth it.
You aren't.
So lie.
I think you're wrong.
Bringing you was a mistake.
Dude, lie. Lie for longer.
Also, I feel like taking all of Virginia captive just to get Rick's attention is a tad overboard, no? Like, why didn't Helen call her out for that? I'm just not exactly sure what lesson the creative team were trying to convey or trying to force upon Rick. He already feels neutered this season, and bolstering that woe is me mentality for him, it's starting to feel less like development and more like a tedious phase. Overall, Air Force Wong felt like a very middle-of-the-pack episode for Rick and Morty, constantly seesawing back and forth between an impactful deep dive into the psyches of Rick and the President, and then a rudimentary episode that relies on recurring character cameos and the ever-looming hunt for Rick Prime, which is mainly taking place behind the scenes. There is some solid humor within the rivalry of Rick and President Curtis, especially with Dr. Wong being introduced into their dynamic relationship, but it borders repetitive a bit too closely for my personal taste. And while the episode does incorporate some interesting themes such as trust and the need for approval, one has to look closely to find any insightful nuggets. At the end of the day, this one just feels like a contrived and forced filler episode to bridge last season's hunt for Rick Prime to this season, and which provides marginal character growth at best.
Unity, I think the reason Rick brought me here is that he doesn't know how to indicate to you he's changed, because he's changing very slowly, but he is.
Similar to the season premiere, I just felt like something was missing from this episode. I mean, it flew by for me, but again, I feel like it's because it was a very linear seesaw. The president wants Dr. Wong and a 100% approval rating, don't we all? And Rick wants to be free, both of his mind and the shackles of his relationships. He's being pulled every which way from President Curtis, Dr. Wong, and Udini, and he's being put down by all of them. He genuinely is improving and wants to feel mentally healthier, and it's kind of funny and also a huge rip that his therapist of all people is getting in the way of that.
You like it when people think you're cool?
You're extra analytical today.
Again, I enjoyed the back and forth between Rick and the president, but overall this concept episode just didn't scratch that itch for me. I think it's very middle of the pack for the show, and probably my least favorite of the season so far. Though it's nowhere near as bad as the lows of season 5. Thank God.
The sperm is Morty's. We're about to make a giant incest baby.
Wait, there's something big, and it's coming right at you! Dear God, no. Explorer, what is it? What the hell do you see? My conscience. Explorer! Explorer!
The only thing I have left to wonder is if we're ever going to get a Morty-centric episode, let alone if we're going to see him in full this season. I mentioned in my season premiere review that kicking things off with a Rick-centric episode was an odd choice, given this sort of new phase of Rick and Morty post-Justin Roiland. I said I would feel better about it if we got a Morty-centric episode early on, but so far we still haven't gotten one to help balance out this season. In fact, they've been doubling down each week. We first got a Rick and the Boys episode, then a Rick and Jerry episode, and now a new Rick and the President episode. I'm honestly gearing up for the show's name change to just Rick, or Rick and Friends, because as of right now, it seems like Morty is out. But I want to hear your thoughts on the episode, so join me in the comment section where we can continue this discussion. Don't forget to leave a like before you go, and feel free to check out my previous reviews using the links in the description below. I also have a bunch of Rick and Morty rankings which you can check out using the playlist in the outro, but as for now, that's it from me. Thank you so much for tuning in. I will see you all next time.